Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to join us virtually this morning. My name is Gord Dobrowolski, and I am very proud to be the chair of the Saskatchewan Workers Compensation Board. On behalf of the WCB, I am pleased to welcome you to our preliminary rate information meeting. I'd also like to welcome you on behalf of my fellow board members, Larry Flowers, Gary Hamblin, Judy Henley, and Jack Brodsky. It is indeed my privilege to address you this morning. If you've been to a previous preliminary rate information meeting, you'll already know that we have a lot of information to cover. We'll have 30 minutes after the presentation for your questions, so please take notes and write down your questions as we proceed. The question period is open to everyone attending. When our CEO has wrapped up his final comments, you can submit your questions through the chat function, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. Our moderator will read your questions, so please be sure to include your name. We will try to get to all your questions. If not, we will add responses and post the Q&A to our website. The preliminary industry rate code specific sheets will be available on WCB's website sometime after this event. Each sheet contains specific rate code statistics and the 2023 preliminary premium rate. This annual meeting is part of our rate setting process so we can remain accountable to you. This is also why we want your feedback on the proposed rates. We really appreciate the time you've taken to be here and to be a part of this meeting. All the work we do at the WCB is based on our vision, which is to eliminate injuries and restore abilities. We can only achieve this if each one of us around the province works together. As employers, providing a safe workplace for your employees and having effective safety management systems in place need to be the priority. Skipping a step to save time or money could cost someone their life. Even the smallest of actions can result in life-altering and tragic consequences. To illustrate the commitment we hope all business owners share, the familiar phrase, on time and on budget, should be expanded to say on time, on budget, with no injuries. We believe that by adding those last three words, we're now covering every measure of success, including the health and safety of the people working on every project. At the WCB, we strive to balance the needs of workers and employers. To achieve our vision, our mission is to be a customer-centric organization that continuously seeks to add value for our customers through a culture of continuous process improvement. This means we are always improving our practices to deliver the best customer service possible. We have many self-serve options available through your secure WCB online account to ensure you get the information you need faster. For the past few years, and again this year, you can log into your secure WCB online account to view your 2023 premium rate statement, experience rating letter, and certificate if eligible. In December, you will be able to view your rate advice letters through your WCB online account. The only physical letters we will send out are for employers and rate codes with a preliminary rate increase of more than 10.5%, and we'll send those letters out in October. Having this information available to you online means you get the information quicker, and it helps protect your privacy. We're also taking steps to make our rate-setting meeting more valuable for you, our customers. Today's information will be available online after the meeting. This is all part of our efforts to constantly advance our service to you. By the way, you can find a recorded copy of all our public sessions on our YouTube channel. Just search for Saskatchewan Workers Compensation Board. As a board, it is our legislative obligation to guarantee the future of our compensation system. That means we need to be good financial stewards. This slide shows the average premium rate history. This slide reflects the historical method of the premium rate calculations. We use our rate model every year to determine the following year's rate. For the past 2 years, the board has adjusted the average premium rate for 2021 and 2022 to help lift pressure on employers due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As you may recall, we have been advising employers since 2020 that they could likely expect to see increases in Saskatchewan premium rates. We are forecasting total costs to rise faster than employer payrolls in 2023, which is mostly driven by increasing long-term claim costs. As a result, we are proposing board-level average preliminary premium rate for 2023 to be $1.28 per $100 of assessable payroll. This is a 5% increase from 2022. Some other compensation boards in Canada have also released their 2023 preliminary average premium rates. Those that haven't will do so in the next few weeks. Despite this year's increase, Saskatchewan premium rates are likely to continue to remain among the lowest rates in Canada. Our goal is not to have the lowest rate in Canada. Our goal is to uphold a balance between stable rates and a fully funded compensation system. Employers can influence their industry and individual premium rate through effective injury prevention and return to work programs. The degree to which employers in an industry work to eliminate workplace injury also affects industry premium rates. After all, the least expensive injury is the one that does not happen. Individually, employers who commit to eliminate injuries in their workplace benefit from lower premium rates through the experience rating program. In 2021, 90% of employers achieved zero injuries and zero fatalities in the workplace. It's clear that Saskatchewan workers and employers are making safety the priority to create safer workplaces in the province. Thank you for all your health and safety efforts. But we know there is still a lot more work to be done to eliminate fatalities, injuries, and suffering. We must all remain vigilant to keep every workplace safe. The purpose of this slide is to help employers understand why you pay premiums. The workers' compensation system in Canada, as we know it, has been established through something known as the Meredith Principles. These principles were adopted over 100 years ago, and I believe they are still as valid today and important as they ever were. Reflecting on something known as the historic compromise, the Meredith Principles provide for an employer-funded compensation system, in exchange for which the workers gave up their right to sue. The principles stipulate that the WCB will provide no-fault, mandatory insurance coverage to protect workers from workplace injuries by providing benefits such as earnings loss and medical. Through this no-fault system, employers are protected from legal action arising from a workplace injury and collectively fund the compensation system. We remain committed to the Meredith Principles that protect families, employers, and entire communities. All of us here representing the Saskatchewan WCB are extraordinarily proud to be able to help injured workers, their families, and employers when they are negatively affected by a workplace injury. I'd now like to turn it over to WCB's CEO, Philip Germain, to discuss evolving economic conditions and future funding costs. Thank you again for attending.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the preliminary rate information meeting for our 2023 rates. I'd like to start off by wishing you, your families, and your co-workers well. I hope you have managed to stay healthy and safe this past year. This slide shows the contributing factors to the increased 2023 preliminary average premium rate. We updated the rate model with 2 years of new experience for 2020 and 2021, and with the changes to the payroll by rate code. There are 3 contributing factors to the increase in the average premium rate for 2023. The first one is a slower rate of payroll growth relative to the recovery that we've seen in 2021. We are projecting an increase in payroll of less than 2% from 2022 projected figures. The forecast growth in payroll is not keeping up with the other inflationary costs like medical or average weekly wage. Higher long-term claim costs are the other factor. The claims costs for long-term benefits to injured workers and dependents are increasing due to a combination of demographic and economic factors. The long-term claims are staying with us longer, so we need to set aside more of the premiums to meet these obligations. And the third factor is inflation. The impact of inflation is pushing up costs for medical claims, increasing the benefit amounts on short-term disability, and increasing the board's administration expenses. We are experiencing higher claims costs with limited payroll growth, leading ultimately to higher premium rates. As most of you know, the WCB has a legal obligation to be fully funded so that we can meet all of our current and future obligations to employers and injured workers. The number of claims and the cost per claim are combining to increase costs at a faster rate than industry payroll. Premiums collected from employers are invested to pay future costs on claims that occur in that rate year. Higher investment returns tend to reduce the premium rate we need to collect from employers. The WCB also relies on investment returns to cover certain costs within the system, like cost relief, disasters, and large capital investments like the Business Transformation Program. We have a legal obligation to be fully funded. Our current funding policy has a range between 105% and 120% funded. The policy is currently under review and will be updated to reflect the recommendations arising from the asset liability study and the implementation of new required accounting standards. After 2 years of adjusting the premium rate to help employers through the pandemic, and with the inclusion of experience from 2020 and 2021, the WCB is proposing a rate increase for 2023. This represents a return to our normal rate-setting approach. The safety associations provide valuable programs and training to support employers and workers in these rate codes to help reduce injuries and fatalities. Our average premium rate includes 5 cents for safety associations, but these costs are only charged to 18 rate codes seen here on this slide. They're not spread across all 50 rate codes. Within those rate codes that pay for safety associations, those costs range from 8 cents to 24 cents per $100 of payroll. This slide shows the 18 rate codes that we partner with to invest in safety and prevention programming. The safety associations, with support of a board of directors that is represented by workers and employers from those rate codes, submit an annual funding request to the WCB along with a strategic and operational plan to confirm how the funding that we provide will be utilized to help reduce injuries and fatalities within those rate codes. If you're not sure whether or not you belong to a safety association, please reach out to us and we can connect you. I'll now turn it over to Jennifer Norleen Beidel, our Vice President of Operations, and she'll talk about claims cost trends.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, everyone. Overall, we are seeing an increase in costs within the 2023 rate model. Claims costs continue to increase at a rate higher than inflation. There is research to strongly suggest that increased healthcare costs early in the claim are an investment in the future, as earlier medical intervention can lead to a quicker recovery. The longer an injured worker is off work, the more challenging it can be to get them back to work. The sooner we can get injured workers back to work, the lower claims costs will be. This slide shows the overall cost increases from 2017 to 2021, the years that were used in the 2023 rate-setting model. As Philip mentioned, costs for long-term or pension claims are increasing recently due to a mix of demographic and economic factors. The main driver is increasing average monthly benefit amounts. These grew rapidly over the last several years as changes to the legislation brought the maximum assessable wage to 165% of the provincial average wage. Another factor is that the age of injured workers and surviving dependents who qualify for long-term earnings replacement has been getting slightly younger, meaning benefits are paid for longer. On the economic side, Our expectations of investment income have been declining over the last several years, meaning we need to set aside a bigger portion of premium to pay these benefits. For the years 2017 through 2021, the main drivers of increases in medical aid include tertiary treatment programs and costs related to psychological injuries. Tertiary treatment provides multiple services by an interdisciplinary team of healthcare providers experienced in the management of injury with permanent impairments and/or significant psychosocial and pain management issues. That is why part of our next iteration of our serious injuries and fatalities strategy will include a focus on preventing psychological injuries, which you'll hear more about from Kevin a bit later this morning. When we look at compensation cost increases, serious injuries continue to be a concern and a significant contributor to these increases. From 2015 to 2021, serious injuries accounted for 11% of injuries and 82.4% of costs in Saskatchewan Workers Compensation system. We anticipate that serious injury claims will continue to place cost pressure on the system since they often result in permanent impairments and long-term wage losses. I will now turn it over to Thomas Webb, our Director of Actuarial Services, to share some details on the WCB's approach to rate setting. Thomas?
Thank you, Jennifer, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to provide some insight into the process we use to determine the rates for the 2023 rate year. The most important concept is that rate setting is a balance between rate stability and sufficiency. Sufficiency means that premiums collected in the future must, over the long term, be sufficient to cover expected costs and expenses. Another way to say this is that the model must be actuarially sound, meaning it needs to be adequately funded to fully cover the expected costs of claims and operating expenses. At the same time, the model must be fair and equitable for all employers. The target is not to over or undercharge employers, but to target the just right zone that ensures costs will be covered. The WCB has a legislative requirement to maintain the funding percentage within a range that is specified in its funding policy. So while rate stability is important, the system still has to be sustainable. The premium rate setting process should appropriately balance these sometimes competing principles. The rate model should provide for the security of benefits, be robust and sustainable, and satisfy the needs, goals, and expectations of employers, while being relatively simple and easy to understand, communicate, and administer. Fairness needs to be balanced with collective liability. Premiums paid by current employers should cover the costs of their injured workers during the premium period. This principle covers intergenerational equity. In other words, current employers should not be paying for claims costs generated by past employers, nor should they be subsidizing the claim costs of future employers. And intragenerational equity. Employer rate codes that incur injuries should be responsible for the costs associated with those injuries. A fair rate-setting model encourages workplace safety and effective return-to-work policies by financially incentivizing employers' positive behaviors. Employers, as a group, and those within the same industry, are jointly responsible for all workers' compensation costs. Employers should not be excessively punished for unusually costly claims, so a portion of these claims should be shared by all employers. Employers also rely on a level of predictability and stability in rates to help them plan and budget effectively. Industries should expect quicker recognition of successful claims prevention initiatives and claims management practices. At the same time, those industries with poor safety performance should also be recognized quickly. By keeping our interests aligned around prevention and effective return to work, costs can be kept down while providing the best possible support to injured workers. Employers should also be able to understand the factors that went into setting their premiums, and the WCB should be able to clearly communicate this information to employers, which is why we're here today. This slide summarizes the key components of the rate model and how they connect to the balancing principles. As you can see, most of the components impact more than one of the balancing principles. For example, costly claim pooling and using an exposure index to weight the costs both contribute to rate stability. This is offset by the impact that long-term claims costs can have on rate reactivity. We can't pick and choose which components we want to use. These components all work together within the rate setting model to come up with our overall cost projection for the upcoming year. The premiums employers pay and the investment income earned on those premiums help to fund the workers' compensation system. There are two key components that factor into the calculation of premium rates: payroll and claims costs. The first component that drives the premium rate is employer payroll. Payroll is collected for all workers in all industries subject to coverage under the Workers' Compensation Act and regulations. The costs associated with workplace injuries that have occurred in the past help us project what future claim costs will be. Premium rates are then set based on the ratio of claims costs to payroll. Assessable payroll for the 2023 rate year is projected to reach $24.3 billion, an increase of 1.9% over the current 2022 estimate of $23.9 billion. 2021 payrolls recovered much better than expected from the reduction in 2020 and ended up at $23.4 billion. The 2021 actual and 2022 estimated payrolls are quite a bit higher than what was forecasted at this time last year. This indicates a stronger than expected rebound from the disruptions of 2020. The slower rate of growth forecasted in 2023 is influenced by local and global economic factors, including rising interest rates. On the other hand, inflation is pushing wages higher, and the provincial government recently increased the minimum wage. In contrast to the more rapid expansion we saw in the early 2000s, which was driven by population growth and the resource sector, we're now looking at a more measured pace of growth that's limited by the overall growth in the working population in Saskatchewan. The maximum assessable wage for 2023 is indexed to the change in the provincial average weekly wage. Based on the most current estimates, we expect this amount to increase by at least 3% from the 2022 level of $94,440. Once the calculations have been completed and approved by the board, the final amount will be announced and posted on the WCB's website. The determination of industry premium rates is not the only factor that contributes to the rates an individual employer pays. There are really three key steps. First, industry classification. Second, establishing the industry premium rates. And finally, experience rating, which considers an individual employer's claims experience. I'll explain a bit more about each one. Workers' compensation is a no-fault insurance system based on collective liability, where all employers share liability for workplace injury insurance. The total cost of the compensation system is shared by all covered employers. The first step in the rate-setting process is classification, which is the process where similar employers are grouped together to form an industry rate code. Our classification system currently has 50 industry rate codes. Premium rates are set for each rate code based on the collective claims experience of employers within it. All employers within an industry rate code start with the same industry premium rate. You've already heard me talk about the second step. The WCB is funded 100% by the premiums employers pay and the investment income earned from those premiums. Premiums that we collect in a year have to cover all of the future costs of claims that happen in the year. This means we need to forecast all of the disability, medical, and rehabilitation costs that will ultimately result from each injury. To do this, we study historical trends, develop assumptions, and project possible scenarios. Some variation is expected, since injuries don't always behave predictably, but this is why we take an actuarial approach that attempts to forecast the most likely, or what we call best estimate, level of costs. To determine the rate, we then take the total of costs, including our administration expenses, and divide it by employer payrolls. The last step in the rate-setting process applies individual employer experience to the industry premium rate. Employers receive a discount for positive claims experience, or will pay a surcharge for poor claims experience. The experience rating program adjusts your premium rate based on your individual claims experience and provides an incentive to influence injury prevention. If your claims experience is better than your industry, you're likely in a discount position. If worse, a surcharge. Therefore, reducing the number and the cost of claims through injury prevention and workplace safety can improve your experience rating and reduce the total WCB premiums you pay. There are two programs in the experience rating program. The standard program is for smaller employers, and the advanced program is for larger ones. The standard program applies to employers with less than $21,000 in premiums over a 3-year period, and it's based on the frequency of time loss injuries. This program has a maximum discount of 25% and a maximum surcharge of 75%. The standard program applies to approximately 88% of Saskatchewan employers. The advanced program applies to employers with premiums of at least $21,000 over a 3-year period. It's a cost-based program where individual employers are compared to others in their industry. If they perform better, they will receive a discount up to a maximum of 30%. If they perform worse, they'll receive a surcharge up to 200%. At the highest level, this slide breaks down the 2023 preliminary premium rate of $1.28. Claim costs make up the bulk of the premium rate component at 68%. Admin costs account for another 23%. Legislative obligations account for 5% and include funding the Office of the Workers' Advocate, the Ministry of Labor Relations and Workplace Safety, and the Committee of Review. Even though safety associations account for 4%, this component only applies to 18 of the 50 industry rate codes. The cost of funding safety associations varies for each and ranges between 6 and 25 cents. This pie chart shows the breakdown of the change to 2023 rates from 2022. Overall, 65% of employers in 32 rate codes will see a higher 2023 industry premium rate, as depicted by the green and red slices. The green slice comprises 64% of employers. The red slice indicates that 1% of employers in 6 rate codes will see an increase greater than 10.5%. The orange slice illustrates that 24% of employers from 13 rate codes will see a lower 2023 industry premium rate. Finally, the yellow slice indicates that 11% of employers in 5 rate codes will see no change to their 2023 industry premium rate. And now I'll pass things over to Kevin Mooney, our Vice President of Prevention and Employer Services, to walk us through the 2021-22 injury breakdown and share some insights about our prevention strategy.
Thanks, Thomas. Over the next several slides, I'll talk about prevention and highlight what individual employers can do to influence their rates, as well as speak to what the WCB is doing to influence the system on a broader scale. There are ways to influence and reduce your premium rates by making sure that you have an effective safety management system, and number 2, by having a solid return to work program. The safety management system prevents injuries, and a return to work program assists with the injured worker's recovery. Prevention of injuries is the best way to control the premiums you pay to the WCB, and WorkSafe Saskatchewan has a number of free online training programs available for you. In addition, the WCB's prevention department has resources to help you with your safety needs. Now, some of these services include training for occupational health and safety committee members and supervisors, safety management system assessments, information on how to develop the elements of your safety management system or return to work program, and coaching employers on the review of serious injuries, which account for more than 80% of the WCB costs. Working one-on-one with employers on effective investigation processes and hazard assessments is another item that we provide as well. There's also 7 funded safety associations that work closely with the members of their industry rate codes to prevent workplace injuries. Now, as it relates to return to work, being prepared to support an injured worker as early as possible and making sure employers and employees know this before an incident occurs is very important. In the future, we'll also help our customers develop approaches to prevent needless work disability or time off due to a work injury or disease. Factors such as work environment, supervisor and coworker relationships, and personal characteristics may contribute to preventable work disability and prolonged absence from work. Therefore, work disability prevention is focused first on preventing a worker's time off work and then mitigating the time when it does happen, rather than managing it. Early steps in this approach can be pretty simple. Could include matching an injured worker's abilities to suitable modified work and learning what might be concerning them so issues can be proactively or quickly addressed. As it relates to actions we can take in the workplace, this could include the identification of injuries and illnesses as early as possible, intervening early, and collaboration on modified duties with the worker, and regular, respectful communications between workers and managers. As it relates to return to work, this includes being prepared to support injured workers as early as possible, and in the future, we will also help our customers develop approaches to manage work disability prevention. Despite a consistent reduction in Saskatchewan's provincial total injury rate over the last 10 years, there's signs that reductions in workplace injuries are starting to plateau overall. Research completed by jurisdictions, including the Campbell Institute in the US, highlight the opportunity to focus efforts on the reduction of serious injuries as a strategy to further reduce workplace injuries and address the plateau that we are experiencing. The Saskatchewan WCB definition of serious injury includes the following criteria. Number 1, if a claim is a fatality. Number 2, if a claim has more than 50 days of compensation paid. 3, if a claim has a Ministry of Labor Relations and Workplace Safety referral flag. This includes serious situations such as amputations, fractures, head injuries, neck injuries, or serious eye injuries. 4, if a claim is a primary psychological mental health claim. And finally, if a claim includes a permanent functional impairment greater than or equal to 10%. The graph on this slide indicates the total number of serious injuries in Saskatchewan workplaces on an annual basis. As you can see, there's approximately 2,400 serious injuries annually, and these numbers have remained relatively constant despite the reduction of time loss and no time loss claims during the same time frame. From 2015 to 2021, serious injuries account for 11.0% of injuries and 82.4% of costs in Saskatchewan's workers' compensation system. As a result, there's good reason to focus on these serious injuries. Our focus on serious injuries began in 2019 with the launch of our fatalities and serious injury strategy. As WorkSafe Saskatchewan has monitored the injury trends in recent years, WorkSafe Saskatchewan continues to analyze data and to conduct further research and jurisdictional scans to inform our path forward. This path includes focusing on the preventing fatalities and serious injuries. Over the last year, we completed stakeholder engagement to inform the next iteration of this strategy. In total, just over 300 people helped inform and validate the areas of focus for our 2022 to 2027 fatalities and serious injury strategy. This slide is another reminder as to why we are shifting our focus. Every year, fatalities continue to take place in Saskatchewan workplaces, having a profound impact on workers, employers, families, and communities. As of August 31st, 2022, we have had 29 workplace fatalities in the province. 13 fatalities were asbestos exposure, 5 were motor vehicle crashes, 4 firefighter cancers, 3 were heart attacks, and 2 were other. And 1 was related to COVID-19. And the last one was traumatic. Fatalities happen in many different industries. For example, fatalities happen in 39 of our 50 rate codes from 2017 to 2021. During the same time frame, 46.6% of fatalities were occupational disease and 19.3% were traumatic. At the end of 2019, WorkSafe Saskatchewan, a partnership between the WCB and the Ministry of Labor Relations and Workplace Safety, completed the fatalities and serious injuries strategy. Using data gathered from the WCB, as well as input from stakeholders, the strategy included several key areas of focus and work sectors. The main areas of focus for this 3-year strategy included asbestos exposure, work-related motor vehicle crashes, firefighter cancer exposures, falls from heights with a focus on the construction industry. WorkSafe's focus was also on the top 3 industries with the highest number of serious injuries. This included healthcare, transportation, and cities, towns, villages, and RMs, along with a focus on first responders, healthcare, transportation, and manufacturing. Work in these focused areas included creating additional resources on the WorkSafe website, developing marketing campaigns, and working closely with employers and organized labor by creating partnerships with a common goal to reduce serious injuries. As stated in the previous slides, we have a consistent number of serious injuries and fatalities in Saskatchewan workplaces. In 2022, we completed our stakeholder meetings that helped develop our next iteration of the fatalities and serious injuries strategy. In 2023, we'll work on the new initiatives and identify new opportunities where stakeholders can lend expertise within this strategy once it is finalized. We also continue to work on our collaborative consulting approach to work directly with our employer community. In previous years, we worked to help employers identify and address root causes of serious injuries. In 2022, we also rolled out our effective hazard assessments process, and our next focus will be working directly with employers on developing and implementing employer-specific serious injury reduction plans. As we continue to work with employers on root cause investigations, there's opportunity to further develop external partnerships to help address the root causes of these fatalities and serious injuries. We're also entering into our last year of our 3-year partnership with Dr. Jody Samra, a registered psychologist, on a long-term psychological health and safety strategy. That strategy includes a resource center which was launched in 2020 on the WorkSafe website with materials to help you and business owners in creating or enhancing your own mental health programs in your workplaces. These resources will help you protect your mental health and safety of your employees, and the resource center is available at www.worksafesask.ca. By the end of 2022, we'll have a 3 to 5 year psychological health and safety strategy for the province. We'll also look to engage employer groups through a community of practice, as well as continue our work with the First Responder Mental Health Committee. I'll now take the opportunity to hand the reins over to Philip to walk us through the long-term outlook.
Every challenge creates an opportunity to do something good and meaningful. As we look forward, we remain focused on the opportunities and challenges and risks that could prevent us from achieving our strategic and operational plans. Both the 2021 actual and 2022 estimated payrolls are quite a bit higher than what was forecasted at this time last year, indicating a stronger than expected rebound from the disruptions of 2020. The slower rate of growth forecasted in 2023 is influenced by local and global economic factors, including rising interest rates and comments about recessions in certain regions of the world. We will continue to work to support psychologically safe workplaces that are resilient and more capable of dealing with change. We believe focusing on psychologically safe workplaces is key to preventing injuries and preventing disability. Regarding the revised funding policy, the funding policy is currently under review and will be updated to reflect the recommendations arising from the asset liability study and the implementation of new required accounting standards. We are investing in our business transformation program. I will elaborate more on this in a few minutes. From 2015 to 2021, serious injuries accounted for 11% of injuries and 82.4% of costs in Saskatchewan Workers Compensation System. The best opportunity to manage the potential negative outcomes associated with workplace injuries is working together to prevent them from happening in the first place and focusing on the prevention of serious injuries and fatalities that significantly impact people's lives. By working together to prevent disability, by making sure we do everything we can to help people rehabilitate and return to work. As it relates to our long-term outlook, we are completing a sustainability study. The scope of this actuarial sustainability study will be comprehensive, and it began in early 2022. The sustainability study helps the board understand the framework needed to steer the ship in the right direction over the long term. It may also help with rate stability, but it doesn't directly help with reducing claims costs or premiums required to cover those costs. The study should help us meet our long-term obligations and outcomes and ensure policies are in place to maintain or improve fairness in the system. As it relates to our strategic plan, assuming nothing was to change, we will see increases to premium rates going forward. However, there is a strategic plan that is meant to minimize the impact of the factors pushing premium rates upward by reducing serious injuries and fatalities and improving rehabilitation and return to work outcomes. My thanks to the Ministry of Labour Relations and Workplace Safety, employer associations, safety associations, and labor organizations for working together to help us develop the fatalities and serious injury strategy. Our plan is to continue to revisit this strategy with customers and stakeholders to study it and adjust it to continuously improve the outcomes. We are also working on developing a new model for disability prevention and return to work. Our 3 to 5 year plan will help stabilize or maybe even reduce injury-related costs. Assuming our plan is successful, we could see the pressure on premium rates start to reverse in the next few years. This plan will require partnerships and support from employers, workers, employer associations, safety associations, and labor organizations. Working together, we can make the changes necessary to improve the system for workers and employers, care providers, and our staff. As a result of the risks and opportunities we are facing as an organization, which were confirmed in an independent review done in 2020, we formally launched our business transformation program in 2021. This program is aimed at transforming our organization as it relates to people, process, and technology. Taking a program approach means we are integrated in our efforts and projects as transformation is managed from the enterprise level. Interdependencies, maximizing benefits, risk mitigation, and efficiencies are identified early and integrated into the planning and execution of the program. This approach helps prevent one-off projects in business areas and fully promotes full understanding and connection to the enterprise level transformation. For example, how a change to a claims process might impact a process or an outcome for employers. Another example, by taking a program approach, the technology solution being procured for the WCB will be integrated across all business streams over a number of years, reducing the overhead to adapt and maintain the existing independent legacy systems. The capacity of the new technology solution will allow our customers, workers and employers of this province, and other key stakeholders to access timely and more reliable data and information. The WCB's transformation program is a foundation for transformation that will change the customer experience and enhance the organization's ability to consistently deliver the right service at the right time. We forecast our transformation to be a 5 to 7 year journey, and we have committed to working with you by leveraging feedback and insights that you've shared with us and potentially will share with us going forward. We will also invite you to participate where possible to support certain key decisions along the way. Customer feedback is a primary input to transforming how we deliver our products and services across all areas of our business. It's something that we take very seriously. In that light, we have embedded strategies and approaches to ensure a two-way dialogue with our customers and our staff to ensure that as we transform, any impacts to you are known and understood. Changes are implemented in a way that is sustainable and respectful, and we continue to meet the needs of our customers. The end result will be better service and a better experience for our customers. The vision of the WCB's customer service delivery model is proactive service focused on customer needs from the first interaction through to the final interaction. As mentioned, as part of this transformation, the WCB is looking to modernize its core technology systems. In particular, the technologies that enable claims processes, employer services processes, and finance functions that are embedded in those areas, like payments and premiums. We will also modernize our supporting systems and introduce self-serve offerings, such as mobile apps, enhance current offerings like web portals, and better data and analytics. As Jennifer and I have both mentioned, the WCB's transformation program will continue to work with you, our customers and staff, to ensure that we achieve the objectives of the transformation program. If you have an interest in learning more about the Business Transformation Program, please reach out to myself or Stuart Cunningham, our Vice President of the Business Transformation Program, directly, or you can contact the WCB via our inquiry email address at askwcb@wcbsas.com. So what's next? Here are the following timeframes for our next steps. In October, obviously, we provide information on preliminary premium rates and share those with all employers. Rate increases greater than 10.5% are published in the Saskatchewan Gazette. Affected employers will also receive a letter advising them of the increase. The letter will also include their preliminary 2023 firm rate with experience rating applied. Our practice is to provide employers with 30 days to provide feedback regarding premium rates, and we welcome your feedback within this time frame. Please email askwcb@wcbsas.com with any feedback you have. In November, any feedback that is provided will be shared with the board, and the board uses this feedback to approve final premium rates. In December, employer 2023 premium rate notices will be available online at wcbsas.com through your secure WCB online account. Ensure your business has a WCB online account for early access to your premium rate notice. Industry rate sheets will be available on our website, and this information includes some rate code statistics as well as premium rate information. A link to this information will be sent shortly via our chat feature. WCB resources are available if you have any questions. If you'd like more industry discussion, our account managers from the Prevention Department are available to arrange this with you. The information presented today will be available on our website, www.wcbsas.com, and on our YouTube channel. Just search for Sask Workers Compensation Board. Thank you for listening, and with that, over to you, Gord.